Okay, everybody, this is Cassandra Williamson coming to you from the beautiful hills of eastern Kentucky, right along the Tug River, which separates Kentucky from West Virginia and parts of Kentucky from and parts of West Virginia from Virginia. I mean, it's all right here in the mountains near Hatfield McCoy Feud Country. That's where I am. I'm here taking care of my family at their request, obviously. Since I'm retired, my kids are grown, grandkids are growing up. And we're scattered all over the country. So my kids aren't here and grandkids aren't here either. It's just me and my mom, brother, sister, and cousins here in the mountains. And so I was asked to come back here to be there to take care of things because, they're getting older and health issues are a big concern. So here I am in the hills of eastern Kentucky. And actually, this is probably one of the best places I could possibly be because most people around here actually believe in the concept of live and let live. That's the hard part for so many people to understand or comprehend. I mean, come on. It's that simple. Why do you have to be so involved in my life? Well, I can only think of one good reason for that. There's some evidence to support this idea that the people who actually clamor the loudest against people like me in the LGBT community, well, they're the ones who actually may be in the closet just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and they're fighting themselves. I believe somewhere in the Bible it says, love your neighbor as yourself. So if you're not loving your neighbor, maybe you need to look inward just a little bit and find out why you're having such difficulty with loving yourself. That could be a real challenge for some people, right? So this morning has been really, really, really interesting on X anyway. Before I jump into that, I just want to say some breaking news. Obviously, the Supreme Court made some rulings today that actually impacts all of us. One thing that they did do was roll back the authority of these activist judges like the one in the panhandle of Texas who always sides with a conservative view, deeply conservative view on everything, very religious perspective on things, and does nationwide injunctions stopping these things from taking effect. So that judge can no longer do that. Very thankful for that because his rulings have always been biased in a huge way. But then again, there are people on the left, probably 40 of the 688 judges, from what I understand, roughly that number, they're doing the most of the injunctions across the country. Oh my God. And that's the Democrat side, the liberal leaning judges and justices. So that's what we have at this point is that the Supreme Court decided that those activist judges, whether right leaning or left leaning, don't have that authority, which is good. That's a good ruling. Another ruling actually says that parents have, and this is a Maryland case, and the Supreme Court said that the Maryland parents have the right to take their kids out of any kind of programming that they don't like, which is also good because I certainly would want to take my kids out. I mean, they're adults now, but I would certainly object to taking, I would certainly take some of my kids out of any programming that I disagreed with. I never found too much like that because I wanted my kids to be broadly exposed to things in the world. And I know that they're not going to become those things. These parents must be so insecure that they think that by just reading a story about an LGBT kid, that they're going to turn into some LGBT person. No, they might be actually decent human beings if they understand a little bit of what everybody else is experiencing. But I mean, if you want to protect the kind of thinking like that, where you can get your kids to actually hate on somebody because you do, well, that's your right. You're the parent, right? I got no problem with that either. Just know there's consequences for that kind of stuff. But anyway, I do happen to agree with the ruling for the Maryland parents, which is probably going to shock a bunch of you in the community that I'm part of, a member of. So I'm also, I support the ruling that has to do with rolling back the power of judges. I've said that already. There are some other court There's some other decisions that are coming out that I'm going to actually have some things to say about too, and I agree with them as well. But here, and some of them, not all of them, some of them. The birthright citizenship thing, you know, that that amendment to the Constitution that enabled that to occur, it was designed originally to enable the kids and the children of our enslaved, I hate that, enslaved friends and families back then, back in those days, to let their kids become citizens of the United States. It was not intended to allow foreigners to come into the country and have children and they become instant U.S. citizens. But it was interpreted that way by a Supreme Court ruling. And so in the late 1800s, I believe. So that needed to be changed too. Unfortunately, that's one I happen to agree with as well. I mean, that it was not intended for that. And I'm not an originalist in by any stretch of the imagination. I do know that these things can be modified and changed and added to, but there's a process for that. You have to go through the steps and the procedures to do those kind of things to make that actually what you want to do. And Thomas Jefferson is one who actually said in a letter to Samuel Kercheval in, I think it was July the 12th of 1816, maybe somewhere around there. He sent a letter to his friend Samuel Kercheval. He said that it's good to be able to reevaluate our Constitution, our government, our systems and procedures and things like that every generation, because each new generation that comes along actually will have learned something different from the one before. And he was very much into demographic data. Jefferson studied that, the actuary tables and stuff like that. He was very much into that. He saw how things changed. And his comment in that letter to Samuel Kercheval was, why would anyone force me to wear the coat of my youth? I can't wear it anymore. I know more now. I'm bigger now. I have other issues I have to deal with. Why force me to wear the coat of my youth? And then he goes on to say, maybe ever so often, very cautiously, very carefully, some of these things need to be reconsidered, to be improved upon, but based on the knowledge we have gained along the way. That was Thomas Jefferson. And you don't hear too many people actually talking about that particular letter. And why? Because Thomas Jefferson wrote at the very beginning of it, he said, please don't tell anybody. But he kept the letter. It was in his library. So yeah, we see it. We see you. He actually did think that slavery ought to be ended, but he was afraid to do it. He wasn't a very strong-willed person, unfortunately. He knew it was wrong, but he was afraid that the freed people would rise up and just wipe out all the white people. Anyway, so let me get back to some of the other issues out here that I found fascinating this morning. One of them is today, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, has announced the new name for the USS Harvey, or the USNS Harvey Milk. Okay, that ship is one of a group of ships that's in the class of John Lewis, the John Lewis class of ships. And the primary ship in that group is the John Lewis, who happened to be a civil rights leader. You also have a ship in that group that's going to be called the Ruth Bader Ginsburg ship and the Robert L. Kennedy ship and other civil rights leaders down through time. That was what the naming was all about, was civil rights leaders. Now, let me just say this before we get jumped into on all of this thing. The name that Pete Hegseth chose to replace Harvey Milk on the name of that ship, the USNS Harvey Milk, is Oscar Peterson. Oscar Peterson was a Medal of Honor winner in World War II. He died in service to his country and service to his shipmates. And he does deserve that recognition. He does deserve that. But not on a class of ships whose design and purpose was to recognize civil rights leaders. Let's pick a new ship. Let's pick a different one, a more like a combatant ship to put his name on. The Oscar Peterson, USNS Oscar Peterson, is not correct. The USNS is an oiler and refueler. And I dare say that Oscar Peterson, he was on a water tender. He was on a tender ship like that, but that's where he died. And so, and he very deservedly received the Medal of Honor posthumously for that, which is great, which is fine. But let's put his name on a ship that actually is a combatant ship out at sea, that actually is something that you can say, look, here's a Medal of Honor winner who died for his country, in the service to his country, and in the service to his fellow seamen on that ship. But don't go in and just replace a name that's a part of a group of names that recognizes civil rights leaders. John L. Lewis was one. Marston Selma with Martin Luther King. You ever been across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama? I have been there. Took pictures there, walked around there, walked across the bridge. It is a very, 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 very emotional place, because so many people were beat up and jailed because they crossed that bridge on their march to Montgomery for civil rights. Lewis was part of it. So naming this ship after Congressman John Lewis, this class of ships, is good. But I dare say that Hegseth is going to go in and try to change everything else about these names too. He's going to try to do it all. Listen right here. He just happened to do this one this month because it happens to be also Pride Month. So he's changing the name of the Harvey Milk, the USNS Harvey Milk, to Oscar V. Peterson, the last weekend of Pride Month in 2025. There is only one reason to do that. Even though it should not be done at all, there's only one reason for him to pick this time to do it. It's called cruelty. That's what this is all about, folks. That's what this whole thing is about. He is going, ha, 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 ha. Look what I did during Pride Month. And it's deliberate. It was a deliberate decision. We know that. We all know it. Everybody sees it. But the comments I'm seeing over on X, oh my, let me see. What do we have over here now? There's 6 new comments on this stuff, because I started talking about it this morning after Hegseth did that. And you probably actually saw the email from me. And if you're not getting the email, go to the website and actually sign up. I don't care if you agree with me or not. Go there, sign up, so that you can, there's free options to go there and sign up. Here's the website, www.cassandra-llc.com. And that is an LLC here in Kentucky, a corporation, for profit. So, sorry. But some of the comments over here on X, let me see. Wall Street, let me just scroll up to the top of these comments up here. I like, now this one's actually supportive. Darlene Hayes says, replying to Alan Bland, me, Cassandra, and who else? We have Pete Hegseth and Due Process. They've all replied to me. I've had like well over 100 people, more than 100 people actually agree with what I said. Many more than that. I'd say it's approaching 200, maybe more than that for right now. But anyway, so let me see. Darlene Hayes says, it proves that pride is still occurring. LOL. You can cope with it and see we ain't going anywhere, sweetie. She's talking to, everybody in that list. That doesn't. And then Alan Bland says, you can keep posting photos with no reference. That doesn't prove anything. Okay, it's a good one. I like that one. And then somebody asked me about why not change the name? And I said, well, look, I agree, this class of ships I'm talking about, I agree with giving Peterson his due respect and honor. Absolutely, I agree with that. Absolutely, I would. I'm a veteran of the Navy and the Marine Corps. My household can fly every flag of the military branches except for Space Force and Coast Guard. I'm hoping my grandkids will pick up those. That way I can have the full spectrum. Yeah, we've all served, and my family has served this nation from the very beginning. Very beginning. So, yeah, I mean, Here we go. Let's see. Memphis Center rescheduled for the 29th. DC Pride had their Pride. Okay, yeah. So no comment on all the others. Okay, at the Kennedy Center, there's people just jumping all over crap down through here. Cite your source. That's Darlene asking somebody to say something there. And then we've got Wall Street Patriot goes, okay, groomer. But apparently they don't know what the word grooming means, because people get groomed to be president, get groomed to be a senator, get groomed in church to be Christians or Muslim or whatever faith they are. That's grooming, period. That's what it is. Okay. And then Armageddon Aracon, obviously that's a fake name. Anyway, talking about Harvey Milk, says he was no. Oh, let me just share the screen. This will be easier for you to see. Hold on a minute. We can do this. Go over here, go there, share screen. Let's look at some of these comments, folks. You ready? Let me see if I can get it a little bit larger for you. I'm going to blow it up some. Let's increase the size. That's up to 200%. That ought to help you see it better. And increase the size like that. And now, let me just go back to the top of this thing. And it says, Colorfield and 100 others like to reply, and there's a bunch more than that out there. And I said, why? Harvey was a U.S. Navy veteran. This is dumb, Mr. Secretary. What's the point of doing this during Prime? Oh, wait. It's cruelty is the point. You need help. That was me telling Pete Hegseth. You know, why do I think he needs help? Because he can't get his mind away from all the LGBT people in the country. You would think that at some point you would just stop talking, but I think maybe he's in the closet. And that this fight against all these people is just something to validate his existence and to make him feel like, I'm not one of them. But Mr. Secretary, come on out. I mean, it's safe out here, right? I mean, y'all are making it really safe for us. Yeah, come on. And some people liked one of my replies. Let me see. LO, Pride Month is here to stay. We've been vocal since 1969 after the Stonewall riots, which were led by what today is called transgender Americans. Yeah, it was. And that's also why they removed, this administration removed references to transgender people from Stonewall, because, you know, they can't exist. These people are full of crap. All right, so, and then somebody said 3 minutes ago he was also a pedo. And then my response to that is this. Okay, so, all right, where's your proof? Oh, question mark right there. There are no court, grand jury, or police reports to substantiate, to prove your point. And I'm going to say, I didn't spell prove right, did I? Okay, I'm glad the underline's there. I'm going to also say stop with the libel. Yeah. Okay. And post. See, I engage like this because I want people to kind of engage back with me. But here's the thing I want you all to know. Everybody watching, wherever you watch from, whatever you're watching me on or how, I don't object to opposing views. I actually relish the idea of having someone engage with me who has a different viewpoint than me. We need more of that kind of conversation. I take no offense that you think that what you're saying is true. I have no problem with that. That's on you. I will let you live the way you want to live. That's all I'm asking in return, is let us live the way we want to live too. I mean, we're not harming anyone, hurting anyone. We're not out here doing anything. Now, I will say this, and this is going to offend a lot of people in the LGBT community, because someone actually on here said something about the fetish stuff. This was that takes place in pride marches and stuff like that. And it's just vulgar. But then again, I'm probably really old, okay? My sensibilities are a little bit different. So, yeah. So they were talking about fetishes and how so many of the pride events and parades actually celebrate that. And I'm going to tell you, I don't like that. I don't like it that somebody stands up on the top of a vehicle somewhere and all they've got on is a leather thong and a strap somewhere, and there's a bunch of kids around all the time, and you're saying it's performative, it's kind of art and all that kind of stuff. Sure, but I wouldn't let my kids when they were young, actually under 10, I wouldn't let them go see David, Da Vinci's David. I didn't want them to see that. That's Why would I? No. Oh my gosh. So anyway, yeah, there's some things we agree with. So I'd love to have conversations about things like that. It's called adversarial collaboration or adversarial kind of approach to things in the world. Sure, we're going to disagree on things, but at the same time, we should still be able to carry on a conversation. What's happened, we've become so entrenched in our echo chambers that when someone suggests the idea of actually implementing viewpoint diversity and accepting that the whole groups on all the groups on both sides go, no, we can't do that. We can't have that. I know, I've experienced it. Yeah, I understand that. But I can tell you that that is what is needed for a long-term process of getting equality and balance and all of this stuff. Let me see who's trying to come on up here. I don't know. Let me see who I've got on my computer screen. I've got oh, that's just me. I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so anyway, replying to me and SecDef, yet gays get laws that target only them. And yeah, that's right. Gays and lesbians and transgender people, especially this time around, they actually do get laws that just target them in violation of their rights, their basic rights guaranteed in the Constitution. These laws target specifically them. And you're right, Carl, if you're watching. If anything is getting shoved down your throat, it's your foot. Right. Oh, you're so right, Carl. All right. So let me see. Go on down. I already replied to the pedo thing. I'm going to scroll on down. Now, look, this is replying to at the Kennedy Center where the president controls the bookings. Such a great example. Hello, meanwhile, LA, Naples, Asbury Park in DC. This is all good and fine. I have no problem with what you see right there in those images. Do you? No, I don't. I mean, these people are celebrating the fact, or at least acknowledging the fact of their existence and that it came out of basically a contrary, what word am I looking for? Kind of a struggle for the right to exist starting in '69 with the Stonewall riots and Marsha P. Johnson and others. Okay, safety concerns Kennedy Center, cite your source. Darlene's jumping in on this. Hey, Darlene, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, groomer. Well, no point in proving that. Prove it. Cite a source. That's Darlene again. And show me that Milk did anything in his Navy career that would allow him to have a ship, any ship, named after him. That should be for extraordinary events, not just someone who is gay. Well, he was kicked out for being gay. Is it not sufficient? Let's see. Is it not SUFFI sufficient that he was wrongfully, he was kicked out? Let me see. I'm going to say he was kicked out because he was gay and later became a leader in San Francisco. And okay, there we go. That's not how you spell San Francisco, is it? Right there. Okay, just capitalizing. All right. So anyway, so these are the things that I deal with over here. Thank you for providing a name of a person who will be a positive example to our sailors. Da-da-da-da. McCoy, let's see, McCoy lived on 3 continents, visited 28 countries, state your facts or my opinion, then move on. Rarely get into Twitter mudslings. Okay. So McCoy actually liked my comment. Good thing. James Hamilton and Boney McBoneface reposted your reply. Yeah, okay. Absolutely Not August says there's literally a dude who responded to that saying it's y'all's plan instead of cutting that out and trying to make us seem like the problem. Check your freak show of Nazi, you pedo defender. Let's see who is not, or absolutely not August. Probably not star bellied, if I'm being honest. Okay, I don't know who you are. Let me open up another window. No, that's all right. Shoot, I don't care. Okay, Keegan Lowe. Keegan Lowe lives in swing state of Pennsylvania. Can't wait to vote for Trump. Vance dooming should never be a part of our strategy. MAGA Trump. Okay. As a sailor, replying to CA governor, this is Rocket Goblin. As a sailor, this is the right decision. You're ignoring the fact that Harvey Milk was a pedophile and courted a mentally unstable 17 kid when he himself was well in his 30s. Okay, all right, look. All right, so I can say the same thing again here. Where are the grand jury findings? The court rulings or the police report? Reports. Oh, not there. Not there. Okay. Okay. Here we go. I'm responding in real time. Okay. So maybe you're running from who you are. Maybe you're hiding from who you are. Okay. Let's see what the 4 comments are on here, y'all. You ready for this? Okay. Must have hit a nerve with you. What? No. Well, I don't know what it is. Okay. You can't though. Okay, so there we go. Let me see what this other reply is over here. That must have hit a nerve with you. I'm not quite sure what they're responding to, but anyway, let's see. Okay. That's it, folks. That's what we have going on over on X. So I've been trying to entertain people over there, but I do want them all to know, every one of you over here who are chatting with me, let me just put up here really quickly. I'm going to go right here and say, hey, I'm live. Come on over. Oh, I get a kick out of this. I have so much fun just being me and living my life and letting other people live their lives. I mean, after all, isn't that what the good book says? Love thy neighbor as thyself, or love your neighbor as yourself. So by the opposite correlation, a corollary of that, if you aren't loving on your neighbor, then you have some issues you need to address internally for yourself. Maybe it is that closet is just so difficult for you, and you're trying to find a way to strengthen the bonds that keep you in there. Good luck with that. It'll eat you alive. I know. Been there, done that. I'm so glad not to be there anymore. So let me see. Neuroglyphics. Because well-connected people follow different rules. Jerry Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old publicly and was never arrested either. Okay. Okay. I don't know what that is. The Cult City, Jim Jones, Harvey Milk, 10 days that shook San Francisco. Milk's taste in men veered toward boys. He was only 16 or 17, I think is probably the more accurate number. Knew that Harvey Milk slept with boys. Former Marine Oliver Sipple slept with men, and the letter to Sipple, Milk said he had many things to do that day, such as cook dinner. I'm not going to repeat all that stuff. That's garbage. Anyway, so there we go, folks. It's been 30 minutes. We've had a conversation. I've had people dropping in and out. I'll do this again tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, and you should come in and just join just for the heck of it. I mean, come on, go sign up on the website that's scrolling across the bottom of your screen. I don't bite most of the time. Anyway, you have a great afternoon. I've got to go check on my family. That's part of my job right here and my calling, actually. So thank you so much for watching.